Olivia's palm cracked across Madam Adanna's cheek, so sharp and sudden that the housekeeper dropped the tray she was carrying. The car key flashed in the old woman's hand. Her head turned to the side. Her wrapper shifted. For a breath, the world stood still, and Johnson Anderson's eyes staring at nothing. Madam Adanna staggered. She held the edge of the sofa to steady herself. The key was still in her fingers. She lifted her face, slow and hurt, as if trying to stand inside a storm. "Olivia, are you okay?" Her voice trembled. "Is anything wrong with you?" Olivia didn't blink. She didn't shift. She stood tall in her pajamas like a queen whose crown had grown too heavy. "Drop the key," she said, her voice cold. "If you don't, I will slap you again. And nothing will happen." A small gasp came from the staircase. One of the guards, halfway down, stopped and pretended to adjust the railing. The driver stood by the door, head low, eyes on the floor. Madam Adanna turned to her son. "Johnson," she said softly, "did you see what your wife did? Did you hear what she said?" Johnson stood. His face showed no anger, no shock, just a tired kind of silence that felt worse than a shout. He walked to his mother, gently took the key from her old fingers, and turned to Olivia. "Here," he said, handing the key to his wife. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out a bundle of cash, and placed it in his mother's palm. "Mummy, take this money. You can use public transport. Maybe Olivia wants to use the car." The room filled with the kind of quiet that hurts the heart. Madam Adanna stared at the money in her hand as if it was fire. The driver took a step back. The housekeeper's eyes watered. Olivia's lips lifted, just a little, like victory had taken a seat beside her. Madam Adanna closed her fingers around the money. She did not throw it. She did not shout. She nodded once, a slow, sad nod, and walked toward the hallway. Her steps were steady. Her wrapper didn't drag. Her back stayed straight, like a woman who had carried heavy loads and knew how to carry one more. At the door, she turned. Her eyes found her son. "Johnson," she said, her voice calm but strong, "unless I did not suffer to raise you after your father died, unless I did not sell my wrappers to pay your school fees, unless I did not pray for you in the dark when you were sick, you will lose everything you think you have for disgracing me today and choosing a stranger over your mother. The disgrace coming after you will be more than this." She left the money on the console table, lifted her bag from the chair, and walked out. The door closed with a heavy bang. "Let her go," Olivia said quickly, pulling Johnson back from the doorway. "We have our lives to live. She enjoyed her marriage. She cannot be a burden to us." Johnson's shoulders sank. He sat down slowly, rubbing his forehead like someone trying to erase a picture in his mind. The driver picked up the fallen tray. How did a home grow this cold? To answer that, we have to go back to the beginning, the day Madam Adanna moved into the Banana Island mansion. The compound was wide, like a small town. The gate was tall. Cars of different colors rested in the garage like sleeping animals. The security lights shone day and night because the house loved to show its own beauty. When the black SUV stopped at the entrance, the guards stood straighter than ever. The door opened. Out stepped an older woman wrapped in a neat blue ankara with white flowers. Her hair was threaded in clean lines. Her eyes carried history, pain, hope, and a quiet joy. She was home, or so she thought. "Welcome, Mama," Johnson said, smiling as he hugged her. "This is your house too." Olivia stood beside him, her smile like glass. "Welcome, Mommy," she said. "We will make sure you're comfortable." At first, things looked bright. The chef brought out pepper soup. The driver carried her boxes. The housekeeper showed her the guest suite on the first floor, a room with a balcony that faced the swimming pool and the Lagos sky. Mama Adanna prayed. She thanked God. She blessed her son. She blessed Olivia too. But peace in that house was thin, like glass you could see through. It began with small things, the way Olivia corrected the housekeeper in front of Mama, the way she rolled her eyes when visitors asked after Mama Johnson, the way the driver hesitated when Mama asked for errands. Little cuts, little stones on the road. "Mommy, call the driver through me," Olivia would say with a sweet smile that did not reach her eyes. "We like to keep order in this house. Mommy, please don't touch the wine glasses," she would add the next day. "They are for guests." "Mommy, please don't use that powder in the bathroom," she would say again. "It leaves marks." When friends visited, Olivia would move Mama to the background. "My husband is very busy," she told them, and I manage everything for him. Sometimes she forgot to introduce Mama at all. Sometimes she called her auntie instead of mommy, as if a new name could hide an old truth. One afternoon, the gardener ran through the back door, breathless. "Madam, madam, small fire in the kitchen." Before anybody could move, Mama Adanna had tied her wrapper tighter and run to the kitchen. She turned off the gas, covered the small flame with a damp cloth, and opened the back window wide. The smoke escaped. The danger died down. The chef thanked her, shaking. Olivia arrived, slow and annoyed. "Who touched my kitchen drawers?" she asked. "I like things where I keep them." "Your kitchen?" Mama asked, still holding the damp cloth. Olivia gave a small laugh. "You know what I mean." That night, Mama sat on the balcony of her room, watching the water in the pool. She remembered George, her husband, gone too early. She remembered little Johnson, a boy with big eyes, who hated to see her cry. She remembered washing clothes till midnight, praying, sewing, selling, saving, pushing her last coins into her son's hands. She had not come to fight. She had come to rest and be close to her only child. But the house kept pushing her to the edge. The driver began to fear simple things. The guards looked away when Mama passed. Even the chef, a kind man, became careful with his words. When Mama asked to go to the hospital for her regular check, the driver scratched his head and said he would confirm with Madam. For 2 days, nobody confirmed anything. On the third morning, Mama wore her best wrapper and matching head tie. She packed her hospital card into her handbag. She stepped into the living room, ready to ask the driver one more time. He stood by the door, eyes on his shoes, as if someone had tied his tongue. The car key lay on the TV console, just lying there. Mama reached for it. And now we are back where we started. The slap, the fall of silence, the money on her palm, the curse at the door. Mama walked out of a house she had blessed with all her heart. Johnson sat back down, his jaw tight, his eyes empty. Olivia lifted the key like a trophy and turned toward the corridor that led to the garage. At that exact moment, the front gate intercom buzzed. The guard's voice shook. "Boss, there are men at the gate. They say they are from the commission. They want to see you. Now." Olivia froze with the key in midair. Johnson's hand dropped from his face. The driver looked up, eyes wide. The chandelier hummed. The intercom buzzed again. The gate buzzed again, louder this time, as if urgency carried through the wires. "Boss." The guard's voice came sharper, almost panicked. "They said they are from the Anti-Corruption Commission. They have papers. They want to come inside." Johnson's head jerked toward Olivia. For the first time that morning, his expression cracked. His brows furrowed, his lips tightened, and something like fear slipped into his eyes. "What do they want with me?" he muttered. Olivia, still clutching the car key, hissed and rolled her eyes. "Ignore them. They probably came to the wrong house. They do this sometimes. We are not criminals." The intercom buzzed again, this time followed by a loud knock on the gate. The housekeeper flinched. The driver looked ready to run. The guards by the garage exchanged nervous glances. Nobody moved to open the gate, but everybody knew the men outside wouldn't leave until they were let in. Johnson rose slowly, straightening his shirt as though preparing for battle. "Let them in," he said finally. His voice sounded calm, but his hand trembled slightly against the edge of the sofa. Within minutes, 4 men walked into the compound. Their suits were plain, dark, and official. Their faces wore no smiles. 2 carried black files, the others carried the kind of seriousness that left no room for argument. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson Anderson," the first man said, showing a badge. "We are here under the authority of the Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes Commission. We have questions for you regarding your company's recent contracts. You are requested to come with us immediately." Olivia gasped. "What nonsense is this? Do you know who my husband is? He's Johnson Anderson, billionaire CEO of Anderson Holdings. He doesn't go anywhere with people like you unless it is by invitation. Leave this compound now before I call the Inspector General himself." The officials did not blink. The one with the file opened it calmly, sliding out a stack of papers. He handed them to Johnson. "This is a warrant. We are acting under the law. You are required to cooperate, or we will be forced to act." The papers shook in Johnson's hand as he scanned them. His throat tightened. Could this be real? His company had been in hot competition for a massive oil and gas contract. Rivals had been circling him like sharks, waiting for a drop of blood. But he never imagined it would come to this, an accusation of corruption, forged documents painting him as guilty. "I didn't do this," Johnson whispered under his breath. "I didn't touch any money illegally." One of the men stepped forward. "Then you will have your chance to prove that in court." The driver took a step back, pressing his back against the wall. The guards avoided Johnson's eyes. Olivia, however, rushed forward, waving her arms like a storm. "You can't take my husband anywhere," she shouted. "He has done nothing wrong. This is Banana Island, not a common street. Do you know how much it costs to live here? Do you know how much power my husband has?" "Madam," the man said flatly, "please step aside." But Olivia didn't move. She clung to Johnson's arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Don't go with them, baby. They can't do anything to you. I will call the governor right now." Johnson swallowed hard. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to think his wealth, his influence, his connections could shield him. But inside, he remembered his mother's words, her curse spoken just moments ago. "You will lose everything you think you have." The words cut deeper now. "Sir," the official said again, "please, come with us quietly. It will be better for you." The household staff watched in silence, their hearts beating fast. It was as though the entire mansion was holding its breath. Finally, Johnson raised his hands slowly, surrendering to the men. "I will come." The guards outside moved aside as the officials escorted him toward the gate. Olivia screamed. She fought. She cursed. "You can't take him. He is innocent. He is mine." But the heavy black SUV, parked outside, swallowed Johnson, and the gate closed behind them with a hollow slam. Silence fell again. Only Olivia's ragged breathing filled the air. That night, the mansion did not glow as brightly as usual. The lights were on, but the warmth was gone. Olivia paced the living room, her hair messy, her dress wrinkled, her bare feet tapping the marble tiles. She dialed number after number, calling politicians, lawyers, friends, anyone who might help, but the responses were the same. "Sorry, Olivia. The case is beyond us now. We can't interfere. He will have to face the commission." By midnight, her phone battery died. She slumped onto the sofa, her eyes red from crying, her body shaking. The housekeeper came quietly with a cup of water. "Madam, please drink." Olivia knocked it away. "Leave me alone." The housekeeper bowed and left without another word. Alone, Olivia stared at the ceiling, replaying the events of the morning. The slap, the money in Mama Adanna's hand, the curse, the officials, the black SUV. Her lips trembled. For the first time in a long while, she felt fear crawl under her skin. Meanwhile, at the commission headquarters, Johnson sat in a cold room, a single bulb above his head. Files were spread before him, contracts, accounts, receipts. Some bore his company's stamp, his own signature. But he knew he had never signed these. Someone had forged them. "You will answer for this in court," the investigator said, pushing the papers closer. "Tomorrow, you will be presented before the judge." Johnson leaned back, closing his eyes. All he could see was his mother's face, her hurt eyes, her steady voice. "You will lose everything you think you have." For the first time in years, the billionaire felt like a small boy again, alone, scared, wishing his mother would hold his hand and say everything would be okay. But she was gone, driven away, slapped, humiliated, disgraced. And now, he was the one disgraced. Back in the mansion, Olivia sat by the window, staring at the night sky. She whispered to herself, trying to chase away the fear. "He will be fine. Johnson will come back tomorrow. He's strong. He's rich. He will fix this." But her words rang hollow, echoing against the empty walls. Suddenly, the phone on the console rang. Olivia jumped, her heart pounding. She rushed to answer it. "Hello?" she said breathlessly. The voice on the other end was calm, deep and firm. "Madam Olivia, this is the commission. We are informing you officially your husband will be arraigned in court tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You may attend if you wish." The line went dead. Olivia dropped the phone, her knees shaking. She looked around the vast living room, at the gold curtains, the glass chandelier, the polished tiles. All of it suddenly felt fragile, like sand slipping through her fingers. Her hands trembled as she whispered again, this time with tears running down her face. "Johnson, please don't let Mama's curse come true." But deep inside, she feared it already had. The courtroom buzzed like a restless hive. Reporters filled the benches, their cameras flashing. Lawyers in black gowns whispered, flipping through heavy files. Curious strangers squeezed into corners, hungry for scandal. The news had spread fast. Billionaire Johnson Anderson arraigned for corruption charges. At the center of it all, Johnson stood, his wrists heavy with shame. He wore a simple white shirt, but it did nothing to hide the storm on his face. Gone was the polished CEO who signed million-dollar deals. In his place was a man staring at the floor, his lips tight, his eyes shadowed. Beside him, Olivia clutched her handbag, her knuckles pale. She wore a fitted gown, but no jewelry today. The arrogance that once wrapped her like perfume had thinned. She leaned close to her husband and whispered, "Don't worry, baby, they can't prove anything. We'll be out of here soon." Johnson didn't answer. His heart hammered too loudly to hear her. The judge entered, and the room stood. A stern woman in glasses, her gavel struck wood. Bang! The trial began. The prosecutor wasted no time. He rose with a stack of papers. "Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Anderson diverted public funds worth billions into his private accounts. We have forged contracts, false receipts, and witness testimonies to prove it." He slapped the documents on the table, each page echoing like a nail into Johnson's coffin. The crowd murmured. Cameras clicked. Johnson's lawyer, a grey-haired man with sharp eyes, stood to object. "My client denies these charges. He has served this nation's economy honorably. These so-called documents are fabricated. We demand proof beyond these papers." The judge nodded, gesturing to continue. The prosecutor smirked. "Gladly." He turned, and the courtroom doors opened. 3 men walked in, former employees of Johnson's company. Their heads were bowed, but their words were sharp when they testified. "Yes, I saw him sign the contracts," one said. "He approved the transfer of funds," the second added. "I was part of the cover-up," the third whispered. Gasps filled the air. Olivia's jaw dropped. She turned to Johnson, her eyes wide with horror. "Tell them it's a lie," she hissed. But Johnson could not speak. His tongue felt tied by shame and disbelief. "How could my own people turn against me?" he thought. "Who paid them to destroy me?" The prosecutor leaned forward. "Your Honor, you can see clearly this man is guilty. He abused his position. He enriched himself illegally. We request that he be remanded in custody pending trial." The judge's gavel hit the table. There was a bang. The decision was made. Johnson would be kept in prison until the case was fully heard. The courtroom erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Spectators pointed and shook their heads. Some even laughed. The mighty had fallen. 2 warders approached. They locked cold handcuffs on Johnson's wrists. Olivia screamed, trying to push them away. "No, he didn't do it. He's innocent." The warders pulled Johnson forward. The cameras flashed brighter. His head bowed lower, and in that blinding chaos, Johnson heard a voice echo in his memory. The calm, steady tone of his mother. "You will lose everything you think you have for disgracing me." His heart cracked. He knew the curse had come alive. By evening, Johnson was taken to Kirikiri Maximum Prison. The gates clanged behind him like a monster swallowing its prey. The cell he entered was small, damp, and crowded. A faint stench of sweat and despair clung to the walls. Prisoners stared at him with sharp eyes. Some whispered, some smirked. One laughed loudly. "So the great Johnson Anderson has joined us," a muscular inmate said. "Money failed you, Abby?" Johnson sat quietly on the wooden bunk, his head in his hands. The air was heavy. His chest ached. The billionaire who once dined with governors now shared space with thieves and killers. That night, he lay awake, unable to sleep. Rats squeaked in the corners, chains rattled, and through it all, his mother's words haunted him like a drumbeat. "You will lose everything. You will lose everything." Beside him, an elderly inmate watched silently. His beard was white, his eyes deep and wise. "Young man," he said gently, "your spirit is troubled. Who did you offend?" Johnson blinked, surprised by the man's calm tone. He swallowed hard. "It was my mother," he whispered. "I disrespected her. I humiliated her for the sake of my wife." His voice broke. "Now I am here, accused of what I didn't do." The old man nodded slowly. "Mothers carry blessings, and curses too. If you have offended her, no power on earth can help you until you beg for her forgiveness." Tears filled Johnson's eyes. "But she left. She left my house that day. She may never forgive me. Find her, the old man said simply. Beg her. A mother's love does not die. Johnson turned his face into the thin prison mattress and wept quietly, his shoulders shaking. Meanwhile, Olivia returned to the Banana Island mansion. For the first time, it felt like a stranger's house. The walls mocked her, the silence screamed at her. She tried to sit on the golden sofa, but her body felt restless. The next morning, she walked outside and froze. A bold red sticker was pasted on the gate, property sealed by the Anti-Corruption Commission. Her chest tightened. She stumbled back inside. 2 hours later, men in black suits arrived. They sealed the house, counted the cars, and locked the garages. Everything is now government property, one of them said flatly. What about me? Olivia cried. Where am I supposed to stay? That is not our concern. By nightfall, Olivia was standing on the roadside with a small suitcase, her hair messy, her eyes swollen. The mansion, the cars, the servants gone. A passing family member took pity on her and gave her a spare room, but meals became scarce. Respect vanished. She was just another burden. Olivia cried into her pillow. The same lips that once commanded maids now begged for help. Her arrogance melted into hunger. Back in prison, Johnson sat at the public call center, a rusty phone pressed to his ear. His hands shook. His voice cracked. Mama, he whispered when the line connected. It's me, Johnson. Please, forgive me. I disgraced you. I lost everything. I need you. I am begging. Please forgive me. On the other end, silence stretched. Then a soft breath came, followed by a trembling voice. Johnson, my son. Tears streamed down his face. He fell to his knees, clutching the phone. Mama, please. I can't bear this anymore. I have nothing left. I need your forgiveness. It's not then, Tuz. The prison guard tapped his shoulder. Time's up. Johnson kissed the cold receiver before placing it back. His tears dripped onto the floor. Somewhere far away, in her quiet village house, Madam Adanna wiped her own tears. For the first time since leaving the mansion, her heart felt a shift. But was forgiveness enough to save him? The heavy gates of Kirikiri Maximum Prison creaked open as an old bus rolled through. Among the visitors stepping down was Madam Adanna, dressed in a simple wrapper of faded green and a head tie loosely knotted. She clutched her handbag close to her chest, as though it carried not money, but her heart. Her eyes scanned the compound nervously. The walls were tall and frightening. The men in uniform barked orders, their boots thudding against the concrete. This was no place she ever imagined her son would be. Not Johnson, the boy she raised with sweat and sacrifice. But fate had dragged him here, and his broken voice on the prison phone still echoed in her heart. Mama, please forgive me. Inside the visiting room, Johnson sat waiting, his prison uniform hanging loosely on his once broad shoulders. His eyes were hollow from sleepless nights, his face thin. When he looked up and saw his mother enter, he froze. The chair beneath him seemed too small for the weight in his chest. Mama. His lips trembled. Adanna walked slowly toward him. She wanted to run, to hold him. But her feet felt heavy, as though the ground itself wanted her to remember the humiliation she had endured. She sat across from him, separated by a scratched wooden table. For a long moment, neither spoke. The air carried all the words left unsaid. Finally, Johnson broke the silence. He dropped to his knees, ignoring the warder's protest. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he pressed his forehead against her lap. Mama, I disgraced you, he sobbed. I let my wife turn me against you. I humiliated you in front of everyone. I forgot the nights you stayed awake, sewing clothes just to feed me. I forgot how you sold your wrappers to pay my school fees. And for what? For Olivia? For pride? Now look at me, Mama. I am nothing. Adanna's hands trembled as they hovered over his head. For a moment, her eyes filled with pain, remembering the sting of Olivia's slap and her son's silence that day. The insult burned fresh, but when she looked at him now, broken, desperate, begging, her heart softened. Johnson, she whispered, her voice heavy with tears. Do you know the pain I felt that morning when you gave me money for transport, like I was a beggar? Do you know how it crushed my spirit to hear you say nothing when she slapped me? You are my only child. I gave my life for you, and you chose her over me. Johnson clutched her knees tighter, his sobs louder now. Mama, forgive me. Please. I would rather rot here forever than live without your forgiveness. I swear I have learned my lesson. I know now that wealth is nothing if a mother's blessing is missing. At last, Adanna's palms rested gently on his head. Tears spilled from her eyes, falling onto his hair. My son, she said softly, a mother's love never dies. I forgive you. I forgive you not because you deserve it, but because my womb bore you. I only pray you have truly learned. And you will never let pride blind you again. Johnson lifted his face, wet and swollen, his eyes wide with relief. Mama, thank you. Thank you. God bless you. The warder cleared his throat. Time is almost up. Just then, footsteps echoed. Olivia entered, her once polished appearance reduced to a shadow of itself. Her hair was unkempt, her dress plain, her eyes red from endless tears. She rushed forward and dropped to her knees beside Johnson. Mama, please, she cried, her voice raw. I know I wronged you. I disrespected you, and I turned your son against you. I thought money made me powerful, but now I am nothing. Please forgive me too. Adanna looked at her, her lips pressed tightly. The image of Olivia's hand striking her cheek flashed in her mind. The arrogance in Olivia's voice replayed. Drop the key, or I will slap you again and nothing will happen. That scar cut deep, but before she could speak, Olivia pressed her forehead to the ground, her tears soaking the concrete. If my leaving will bring peace, I am ready to go. Just forgive Johnson. Don't let him die here. He needs your prayers. The room grew quiet. Even the warder shifted uncomfortably, moved by the sight. Adanna let out a long, shaky breath. Her voice quivered as she said, Olivia, you took my son from me with your pride. You treated me like a stranger in my own child's house. But I will not curse you today. I forgive you not for your sake, but for my son. May you learn that respect is greater than riches. Olivia lifted her head slowly, her face streaked with tears. Thank you, Mama. Thank you. Johnson reached for his mother's hands, pressing them to his face. Mama, your prayers are my only hope. Please ask God to free me. Adanna cupped his face gently. My son, I will not stop praying until the truth comes out. The God who saw my tears that morning will see your tears now. You will not remain here forever. The warder tapped the table. Time is over. As Adanna stood to leave, Johnson clung to her hand desperately. Please come again, Mama. Please, don't leave me alone. Her heart ached, but she nodded. I will come back. Hold on to hope. She walked out slowly, her steps steady, but her soul heavy. Johnson watched until the door closed behind her, and for the first time since his arrest, a small spark of hope flickered inside him. That night, in her small village house, Adanna knelt by her bed. Her voice broke as she prayed, God, I have forgiven my son. Please, let the truth come out. Deliver him from the lies of wicked men. Restore him, not for wealth, but so that he may honor you and his mother again. Her tears fell onto the mat, each drop carrying a weight of pain and hope. Meanwhile, in the prison cell, Johnson sat on his bunk, his palms clasped together. For the first time, he prayed too. He whispered his mother's name, begging God to hear her prayers for him. The elderly inmate, lying nearby, watched quietly. She came, didn't she? He asked. Johnson nodded, his eyes wet. Yes. She forgave me. The old man smiled faintly. Then watch closely, things will change. And indeed, miles away, in an air-conditioned office, a young lawyer flipped through Johnson's case file. His eyes narrowed as he spotted irregularities in the documents. His lips pressed into a thin smile. This evidence. It's fake. Someone set him up. I'll expose this. Unaware of the storm about to break, Johnson closed his eyes that night, with the faintest glimmer of peace. The morning sun streamed through the barred windows of Johnson's cell, but he barely noticed. His mind was still on his mother's tearful words and the hope they had stirred. For the first time in months, he had slept without nightmares. The clang of metal keys broke his thoughts. The cell door swung open, and a warder barked, Anderson, get up. You have a visitor. Johnson's heart skipped. Mama again? Or Olivia? He hurried to the visiting room. To his surprise, a young man in a crisp navy blue suit stood waiting. His briefcase lay open on the table, and his sharp eyes scanned through a thick stack of documents. Mr. Anderson, the man said with quiet confidence, my name is Barrister Chike Obi. I've been following your case. I believe you were set up. Johnson frowned. Set up? By who? Chike slid a forged receipt across the table. This signature, they claim it's yours, but look here. He flipped another page, showing Johnson's actual signature from an older contract. The slant, the loops completely different. And this witness statement? He tapped the file. All three of them were employees who were recently paid off by your biggest rival, Chief Raymond. Johnson's jaw tightened. He knew Raymond, a cunning businessman who had always envied Anderson Holdings. So, all this was his doing? Yes, Chike said firmly. And I've filed a motion to reopen your case. With God on our side, the truth will come out. For the first time, Johnson's shoulders lifted, hope sparking again. A week later, the courtroom was packed once more. Reporters jostled for space, the public buzzing like flies around honey. Everyone wanted to see if the disgraced billionaire would sink further or rise again. Johnson was brought in, thinner but steadier now. Mama Adanna sat in the front row, her eyes closed in prayer. Olivia sat beside her, humbled, her hands folded tightly. The judge struck her gavel. This court is now in session. Chike rose confidently. Your Honor, new evidence has come to light that proves my client's innocence. He laid out every irregularity. The mismatched signatures, the fake witnesses, the bank accounts that traced back not to Johnson but to Chief Raymond. Gasps filled the room as each piece of evidence landed like thunder. The prosecutor stammered, flipping through his papers. But, the judge raised her hand. Silence. Continue, Counsel Obi. Chike's voice grew sharper. And here are sworn affidavits from two of the supposed witnesses, admitting they were bribed by Chief Raymond to testify against Mr. Anderson. Murmurs erupted across the room. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras clicked like lightning. The judge leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. This is damning. The commission must investigate further. Moments later, the gavel came down. This court finds that Mr. Anderson was wrongfully accused. He is hereby acquitted and released with immediate effect. The room exploded in noise. Johnson's eyes filled with tears. He turned to see his mother on her feet, her hands raised toward heaven, whispering, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you." Olivia wept openly, clutching Mama's arm. For the first time, she looked like a broken woman, not a proud wife. Johnson stood tall, though his knees trembled. "Thank you, Mama," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Your prayers saved me." News of Johnson's freedom spread like wildfire. Television anchors screamed headlines. Billionaire Anderson cleared of all charges, rival Chief Raymond arrested. Indeed, Chief Raymond was dragged into court within days, his empire crumbling as his lies collapsed. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Meanwhile, Johnson walked free. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed him. Flashes blinded his eyes. Microphones shoved into his face. "Mr. Anderson, how does it feel to be free again? Do you have a message for your rival? What will you do next?" Johnson didn't speak much. He only turned to his mother and wrapped her in a tight embrace before the cameras. His words were soft but clear. "All glory to God and to my mother." The image spread everywhere, a billionaire kneeling before his mother in gratitude. Back at the mansion, sealed doors were unlocked. Cars once impounded rolled back into the garage. Bank accounts once frozen came alive with transactions. Employees who had abandoned the company now scrambled to return. Anderson Holdings reopened with a roar. Within weeks, they won the biggest contract of their history, $50 million. The once disgraced billionaire was back, stronger than ever. But this time, Johnson was different. He was humbler, quieter, more grateful. He no longer made decisions without Mama's counsel. He no longer let Olivia dictate his heart. At night, he would sit with his mother in the living room, listening to her stories of his late father, George, and the struggles of raising him alone. Tears would sometimes roll down his cheeks, but his heart healed with each passing day. The greatest joy came a year later. Olivia gave birth to a baby girl. The moment Johnson held the child in his arms, he felt an overwhelming rush of love and humility. "Mama," he said softly, placing the baby in her arms. "Her name will be Adanna after you." Mama's hands trembled as she carried the child. Tears streamed down her face as she kissed her granddaughter's forehead. "Thank you, God," she whispered. "You have turned my mourning into dancing." Olivia, still weak from childbirth, reached for Mama's hand. "Thank you for forgiving me, Mama. I promise I will never disrespect you again." This house will be yours as long as you live." Adanna nodded slowly. "It is not the house I need, my daughter. It is peace, unity, and love. That is the true wealth." Johnson's eyes glistened. "And we will never lose it again." That night, the family gathered in the mansion's dining hall. For the first time, laughter echoed freely. Mama held baby Adanna in her arms, humming softly, while Johnson and Olivia sat close by, their hands clasped. The chandelier above sparkled, not with pride this time, but with warmth. Outside, the Lagos night glittered with city lights, but inside the mansion, a new light burned brighter, the light of forgiveness, humility, and second chances. For Johnson, it was clear, wealth could vanish, power could fail, but a mother's blessing was the only foundation that could not be shaken. And as he looked at his mother smiling with the baby in her arms, he knew the truth. He had lost everything, only to gain it all back stronger, purer, and forever marked by grace. What is your view about this story? If you were in Madam Adanna's shoes, would you have forgiven Johnson and Olivia despite what they did? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.